Hopefully no one says Rona. I felt really is screwed. Okay, hopefully my throat holds up for this. I'm just going to lower the music a little bit. So, this is kind of a build I've been wanting to make for a little while. A lot of these parts have been sitting around for a long time. I thought I would just spontaneously stream this. So, what we're looking at, Trinity Mini GV2. I'm going to mention this right away because I want to get off the desk. It's throwing autofocus way out of whack. For a really ultra cheap budget case, I'm talking £29 when it's on sale. It has two 140mm RGB front fans and a 120mm same kind of RGB rear fan. It's terrible RGB. It's they're pretty bad fans, I'm not gonna lie. It's static, so it's literally just like yellows here, greens here, reds here. So no rotating RGB, quite visible. Probably the worst RGB fans I've ever seen. But two 140mm fans in a £29 case, that alone is just really good. So yeah, it looks like a decent airflow case. It probably is. The last one I had to return. I did a stream on that, and I just wasn't too happy with it overall. So we can take this out of the way. By the way, PSU shroud, yes. Tempered glass panel, yes. Which I much prefer to, you know, obviously the acrylic plastic stuff. So the motherboard is an OpenBox B450M DS3H. It's Ryzen 3000 ready out of the box, which is kind of important as you'll see the CPU. Just rotate this a bit. You get to see the crap on my desk. Yeah, so 3400G is the processor. I'll talk about that in a minute. So I wanted a bunch of motherboards for AIM4 because I just never had any. And I bought a couple of these from a friend who bought them open box from CCL. He's not having too much time shifting a lot of his stuff, so he offloaded a lot of it to other people, other local builders. And he sent me a bunch of these I bought from him from the price he paid. So it's like 30 something pounds, 33 or something open box. He had a whole bunch of these. So yeah, it comes with the IO shield. I think this one came with the SATA cable, maybe the other one. I only bought 2 from him, I didn't need a lot. A lot of B450 specifically. Never actually checked to see this IO shield was correct. Because you never know with CCL open box. Oh yeah, this one came with SATA cable. I'm just going to put this to one side for now. So decent motherboard. CPU is a 3400G. So the story with this, I bought this on a motherboard from someone, £130 on eBay I think, which is actually kind of a little bit high. We're probably looking for like 120. It was an A320M or something. It was a crap motherboard. And it didn't work. And after millennia of back and forth with the guy, we decided, you know, he'll refund me the money, I'll send it back to him. He never got back to me with a return address, ever. Like months and months of me asking him, pestering the guy. He probably just gave up because I was sending so many messages. But this has been sitting around for such a long time that I'm actually just going to use it in a build. Despite, you know, that. But it's been... He's had his quarter of a year or whatever to try and get this back from me. Not too fussed about that anymore. If he does get to me at some point, I will just pay him £100 for it, I think. We're going to use, just so, you know, a little bit of overclock potential, maybe a little bit of down the line, good temperatures, that kind of thing, and just visually aesthetic. We have an AMD Wraith Prism here. It's a bit overkill, you could just use a Wraith Spire, obviously. What mode's this on? It's on low, let's switch it to high. All this switch does is enables it to run at a faster RPM. So you've got better maximum cooling. Kind of like that. We're going to be using the 4-pin USB header. As this motherboard does support it, it has one there. So hard drive wise, we have a Seagate 1TB hard drive, pretty standard, refurbished, or used rather. Refurbished is like, I say something's refurbished when you've actually done something significant to them. Like you've actually done enough to justify saying refurbished. Used and just like cleaned up lightly, not really, doesn't go for me. So this is day manufacturer 2016 I think it was, yeah it was. So yeah, nothing wrong with that. Nice light drive, decent bit of storage, tested. Seagate, smart. Short drive self-test and long generic on the ones I do. For the SSD, I just got a bunch in, but I'm going to be using another one of these Kioxia 240 gig SSDs. Kioxia are actually like well, Kioxia are rather a well-known in the enterprise market drive manufacturer. You don't see them as much in the consumer space, but recently they've been branching more into it. Especially with like really high capacity 2.5-inch SSDs. In general, Kioxia have been doing really well. They are a well-known company in the right spaces, so don't think of them as sort of an off-brand, despite them being like a cheap brand you've probably never heard of popping up on Amazon. So we're using 240 gig. Those were quite cheap. I think these were 25 to 26 pounds on eBay, Amazon, new. So this is new, this is used. This is used. This is open box, so basically new. This processor is new. Sorry, used. This RAM is used. Let's talk about it. This is Team Group T-Force Nighthawk in white. This is RGB RAM. I got this for £45. It's 3600 megahertz C16. Sorry, 3200 megahertz C16. Is it 32? It's got to be 32. Yeah. So this is some really good stuff, honestly. If you want to build to look good and have tied RGB, this is where you want to be going with that. I do like the RGB on these. So £45 for those, that was a great price. And obviously, power supply, we're going on the ultra cheap side, the Aerocool Cylon 600 watt. The integrators are absolute crap, the Cylons are just crap. So 600 watt, and on the 12 volt they're actually not too bad. I think it's packaging falling off. 540 watts, which is really not bad for a 12 volt rail on a really cheap power supply. It's 80 plus white, it's not anything special. But £25, we're talking 3400G with a build without a graphics card. For £25, you know, I get the spec on paper, the 600 watt. It looks good in the end. The efficiency is not too important. They're good enough that if they work out of the box, then they are fine to use in builds. So I quite like that. That about covers it really for what we're using. Oh, and they also come with a power cable. So like if you're buying any other cheap power supply for like £25–30, you have to spend extra 4 or 5 on another one of these C13s. So that's really the key thing I look for when going for really cheap power supplies or cheap builds. I don't need good power supplies. It would seem better if I stuck this with like a 400 watt power supply, but the 600 watt just, you know, it's a decent 4-core 8-thread processor. So later down the line, if they really just wanted to do something else, run a graphics card, no problems. Where does this come from? Spend a lot of time dealing with boxes. Don't need a power supply yet. We're going to assemble everything we can on the board, and then we'll assemble everything we can in the case, and then put the board in the case. So, first things first. Supply the CPU. This definitely will not have any RAM clearance problems, will it? No, not even close. I was just thinking because this RAM is exceptionally large. I don't use RAM with that kind of flair. I think it's cheap and tacky, but it's what the guy had, and it was a cheap price, so I got it. So as per usual, you do line up the golden triangle on Intel. Sometimes golden dot, but it's usually golden triangle on the CPU with the triangle on the socket. But for AMD, it's mostly like if you're facing this way, sorry, if you're reading it this way, the Ryzen, you have it oriented this way 9 times out of 10. Intel is something similar with everything oriented, you know, the right way up. Lift lever arm. Worked itself in. And you might hear a crunch, which is usually quite, makes you cringe, but oh, this time we don't hear one. So the bottom of this is a little bit, you probably can't tell because the video quality is not good enough, but it is a little bit dirty. It looks like someone's wiped off the thermal paste, maybe like a wet rag or something. But I'm just going to use some alcohol on that. Actually, it looks like a thermal pad. Interesting. The CPU I already wiped down before, but I might as well do just in case there's, you know, some dust from it sitting around in a sealed case. Not too much. Those heat pipes are really not flat. Gamers Nexus would not be happy. I just like to make sure everything's pristine. Still a little bit on the CPU. Okay. So it makes most sense for us to put on the cooler and then the RAM. I just need to think about cable routing here. So obviously the fan is here. Or is that listed as CPU fan? It's a system fan, so CPU's up here. So we're going to do some stuff like this. Debating whether we should pull the outlet or route it through the case. So we cut out here, bring it back through, cut out here maybe. Just to hide it a bit more. But we'll just collapse it together like this and cable tie it when it's on the board. Same with this cable for sure. This is Arctic MX4, and all you can tell anymore. I do have Cryno, but I use that for GPUs. I believe to try some MX5, but doesn't seem worth it. It's less thermal paste than it looks like. A lot of it's just like flat smeared. It's not actually there. If anything, I would like to probably add a little bit more to that, but you never know. You only need a small amount. Alright, so it's got AMD's original crap latch mechanism. So these square cutouts, they go on these little latch bits. Feel like an amateur. Slapping a RAM. Make sure slots line up. Now we need to cable manage the cables, the very many of them. The long bar on top, I think. So one cable controls the fan itself, another one controls the RGB. Not entirely sure where to hide this. Can run a cable tie something like that, maybe around the other side. Yeah, let's do that. I hate these things. And try and make this look a bit neater. That's not going to work, is it? Let's just open it, tie that with too little slack. Our cable's a little bit more slack, so we can hide this. It doesn't want to hide under there. Just gonna have to do. This we will consider how we're going to manage when we get that sorted. But for now, that'll do. So that's our already quite messy motherboard. Also, pretty sad, no, I don't have a better case to put the white RAM in, sadly. So motherboard's done. Next we'll slap PSU and drives in the case. So I picked this case because it's obviously really small form factor. Well, that and it was cheap. Interestingly enough, I'll show you my full tray. So here I keep cable ties just to keep on hand. I've got packs of them over there, I just empty out one in here occasionally. I've got my thermal paste on top of that, because, you know, why not? These particular things, these, I would call them cable ties, but cable twists. Twist ties, I think that's what it's called. I keep them just because they're quite useful for, especially if you have like just a rogue fan wire or something you want to quickly just tie up. Use one of those. This is all my USB crap. Installing Windows for the wireless keyboard and mouse, which I don't really use anymore. Wi-Fi dongle, some programs, the background I like to use. This is where I keep some speakers, although I like to throw most of them out. I hate speakers, I never use them. These are your standard metric screws. You know, the ones with a little, lip, as you can sort of see there when it says to focus. Maybe not. Maybe it doesn't like it. There we go. These are your those are metric. These are imperial, the ones that don't have that lip. These are also imperial, the thicker ones. Usually use these for drives of the case or whatever. These are just standard fan screws. Fan screws are kind of self-tapping. They basically just they cut into the fans. These are longer fan screws for attaching to radiators or screwing in from the front of the fan. I've got ones with that are fully threaded and ones are only threaded at the end, which I can't seem to pick out because my thumbs are pathetic. These are random case specific screws. I don't keep many of those, I include most of those with the case. These are motherboard standoffs. And these I think are M.2 hardware. Yeah. I can't remember what that stuff is. Take off the crappy panel. At least it's glass, can't complain. We don't need this, but I'm just saying. So 2 top fans. So front could be 2 120s or 2 140s. Top fans, it doesn't say. That's just 2 120s. Rear fan is the 120. PSU fans, those got to be 120s. Yeah, only see one. Of course, this case is not really. Yeah, I would be surprised if that's just wide enough to fit these 140s in the front without blocking the airflow, really, with framing. In theory, it's a pretty nice case, but standard PSU crap. Speaking of which, I get PSU screws. Mustn't forget about these. If I remember right, I couldn't find the stuff. Well, there it is. It's zip tied, the case hardware. Yeah, where were they? 1 2.5 inch SSD, 1 3.5 inch. Optional. Maybe not. It's positioned there, so basically behind here. Yeah, these screws here. So let's put that in first for the motherboard. You don't need to read those, you could basically just open up the case, look at it and see, but it's fun to see sometimes. So yeah, that one, where I put all the screws for the case I'm currently working on. I might call that one also case specific screws, but I would be wrong if I did. Ah, yeah, Molex, my mortal enemy. As I said, these fans are not good, so need to be a little bit cautious about that. What are you stuck on? Modest amount of case hardware for thinner cable ties. A weird plastic thing, I have no idea what the hell that is. Oh, that's M.2 thing. I'll show you that in a second. And why do I keep calling today I have this issue where I keep calling standoffs M.2s. I have no idea why. Yeah, so basically this is just like a socket that fits over motherboard standoff, so then you can use a screwdriver to screw and unscrew it. Personally, I just like to take these out and just put them in my organizer. For all these generic cheap cases. I think only like 4 standoffs are in. Oh no, 6 are. 6 are is like Pixar, but I know at some point it's going to get mixed up, but of course my organizer is nice laugh. Alright, so I'm going to do this. Well, For starters, that's not necessary. This is going to right up here probably, but then it's kind of... the system Molex is so gross. I don't want this thin cable to be on top, I want this to be under. So it's like hidden under these cables. Quite a lot of room for the power supply actually. I think there would probably be enough room to route the USB 3 if the USB 3 was down there. Is it? Ah shit, yeah, the USB 3 is down there. I'd rather use a twist tie than a proper cable tie for this. To be fair, this does not make a difference if it's draping behind the motherboard. To be fair, it doesn't make a difference whatever this cable is doing and where it is. Alright, I should have a straight thing for that, that should be fine. These are the metric screws. You won't be able to see what I'm doing, but I'm basically just putting screws through here and screwing the SSD on the back. Doesn't help that I am right-handed, but well, that's one in. I really like this screwdriver. This is really cheap. You can buy these on eBay, AliExpress. Coming from Ali. But I think it's actually now cheaper in both places, so it would just make sense to buy it on UK eBay and get it quick. Right. That's that in. For a 2.5 inch SSD, you really just need the 2 if you're in a pinch. If your case, you know, you're putting in... I don't know. There's a lot of reasons why you would have multiple 2.5 inch drives. Probably the biggest one is migrating from your old PC. Welcome, Sweat. How's it doing? So, you know, sometimes your case might just not come with enough screws. It has happened a few times to me. I keep, you know, a million spares, but that ain't lined up the best. Come on. Here we go. This is a micro ATX case, by the way, only. Obviously, it's tiny. This PC is a very budget gaming PC or home PC or home theater PC. It's a 3400G. That's it. No graphics card, just VGA. Oh Christ, yeah, I forgot this was a thing. These black stickers on the fans. They are horrible. None of them are ever centered. In fact, let's actually try the fans now. Because I did have one of these that was broken. And obviously this one is the replacement for that one. Alright, a little bit of a brownout. Plugging in the Cylon. It's when you know you've got quality. Alright, gonna need that. Alright, Molex. Or Patha rather. Depends on your neck of the woods. It's 4th and 5th, I think. Well, they're running fine. I don't know if the brightness is gonna fix itself to the point you could ever see that. Oh, there we go. Look at that. Look at that thing of absolute non-beauty. Oh, it's doing the same on the front as well. Oh, I love that. I hate it, but I love it. Just all the fans wobbling. I've heard it looks okay if you just take it off. Apparently LEDs are not too visible. I think I'm going to do that. What the wiggle means? It means just they didn't put the stickers in the middle. They put them slightly to one side. Not a single one of them is on point. That's... right, that's getting changed. Gonna take those off. I've heard these are easy to remove. This does not seem too easy. I mean, what happened in the factory? Just what happened? I have to be, every time I take the front panel off, I have to be careful because I've got the webcam and everything set up over here so I don't like whack everything out of the place. So if you ever see me like, well, you see me every single time I take a front panel off, I'm extra careful with it because I've got all this stuff around that I'm literally going to throw away if I pull it off too hard. Again, it is nice to have two 140mm fans in a £29 case though. Like, 140mm pushes so much air, more air for the same volume, more quieter to get the same amount of air. Depends on how you look at it. Like, look at that. Fucking look at that. That's like, even a person would do a better job than that. Whatever machine they've got is just needs calibrated yesterday. If it was an isolated incident, I kind of understand maybe the machine, something went wrong, but you know. It feels like they're intentionally making sure everyone is slightly off. This PC, the price it cost me is probably in the £200 mark. And that is because I got the 3400G for free. Ideally, I would like to nab one of those for 80, so the cost would be about 280. If you're buying parts used, you know, you're sniping really good eBay deals, that's how much it'll cost you. It's going to be 16 gigs of RAM. In this case, 3200 C16 RGB stuff. If you missed all that, I'll go over it again. It's a really not a bad PC. Everything's kind of almost set up to be upgraded later. Like for example, 3500G here, we've got the Indy Wraith Prism on it, just for a bit of extra looks with RGB RAM obviously, but maybe a little bit of overclocking later, keep temperatures cool. Just to have a little bit more long-term ability down the line. The motherboard's actually quite decent as well. It's a decent B450M DS3H off the top of my head. Power supply 600 watts. It's definitely planned for when you get a GPU down the line type of build. And it's standard 240GB SSD, which we installed in the 1TB hard drive, which I will install before or after the power supply. But I'm going to test those fans again. Probably should pull that out. What am I always going? Probably turn the PC to face me, it'd be a bit easier to see. Alright, what are we dealing with? Honestly, that's not too bad. I have absolutely no chance of showing that properly on camera, I don't think. But I'm telling you in person, that's really not too bad. And the front looks 100 times better without those black stickers. So yeah, as I said, these are probably, with the black wobbling thing, the LEDs are actually, well, they're not completely visible. They're in person, obviously, it's much better than on camera, so if it looks fine on camera, it looks good in person, but it's probably the second worst fans actually I've ever seen, with the static RGB, like purple fixture, red, yellow. It looks much better in pictures than it does in person, simply because of that thing. There was a guy who had one that came broken. I returned mine because I had a broken fan. His was also broken. He just stuck it in the center for one. Didn't like that too much myself, so didn't do that. It's reasonable. That's not too much air, to be honest. Definitely could be better. Luckily, 3500G. Nothing spectacular. In case you're wondering, paperclip. To turn on your power supply without, having it connected to a motherboard, take the 24 pin, have it so the clip is facing down. This is the way I remember it anyway. And on the bottom row is 4th and 5th. Or if the clip's facing up, it's 4th and 5th on the top row. But I do clip down 4th and 5th from the right. And there's nothing really dangerous about doing that, just don't plug it into the wrong ones. Alright, so power supply or hard drive. There's going to be shitloads of cables here, so I'm going to take out the dry bay first. It is a screw type. I'm building this case in a little while, so. This PC is actually going to profit me quite a lot of money because of the 3400G. See, the thing is, whether the price of the build or not, I like to pass a lot of the savings on to the customer, but at the same time, if I save more on identical parts, a PC, 2 identical PCs, and one I saved more money on because just whatever, luckier deals, what's going on. I can't afford to really sell that cheaper. So yeah, you can't just compete with your own business too much when you're talking about the same parts. Alright, what are we dealing with here? Okay, this drive does not want to be mounted up there. HDD SSD. Does she want me to mount it on top of the drive bay? That does not make me too comfortable. Also, why is there only screws for one side and then a couple loose ones here? It's a pretty cheap design of drive bay. I think I'm just gonna stay with putting it inside. Let's get ourselves 6 Imperial screws, 5 actually, because you can only get 2 in the slider. You're running out of those. A little bit surprising. I also mentioned the stream is like not focused on getting everything done on camera, showing anything had to be done. In the amount of time I've been streaming, this would already be built if I was focusing on it. So most SSDs, they tend to use the metric ones. Most hard drives, they tend to use the Imperial ones. The Imperial have a thicker thread. Or a coarser, I should say. Oh, that's weird. You unscrewed the other side and then you could keep these in and slide it out. Must be some kind of mounting pegs for that I've not ever seen in my life. Yeah, that's in the firmly anyway. By the way, if any of you are hanging around for the stream later today, it's going to be Penumbra Black Plague, which is this continuation, the sequel to Penumbra Overture, which we've been streaming. And I think it's going to be quite good. Did I miss a screw? I did. Not an important one, but... Luckily the power supply isn't in yet. Alright, so we have to somehow deal with this mess. This is going to be different from the main loom. This is going to be here. Think of literally just cable tying this here. So I could have all these cables in here, this here. And then have Molex come up to. That does make some sense. Not a lot, just some. First I need to get these over here. Just ensure they stay. It looks like you could in theory fit a radiator in there. It looks like there's probably enough room in front of the fan and the PSU shroud, but I don't think I would. Obviously the fan's going to be right up against there, so it's not going to help anyway. Right, so this little bunch is going to get cable tied. This is one of my usual cable ties. This is one of the ones that came with the case. The cable ties I use are 110 mil, something like that. Length. Maybe longer actually, maybe 15. Right. If this is cable tieable, then consider it cable tied. Yeah, I thought that might happen. When there's more here, that'll tuck in better. But for now I get these bloody fiddly cables out of the way, which is what I care about. Alright, this can all go fuck itself. Alright, so for the power supply we need to now decide what cables we actually need and what side is going to be facing out. The Cylon sticker... Does this only take... This only takes mounting the one way, okay. So that's that sorted. So it's going to be fitting in this way, which means this sticker is going to be facing out. We don't want that. This is... That's how you sell someone a disappointment. So what we're going to do is we're going to modify the Cylon in a certain way. Probably easier just to use my fingers at this point. Also, I've got to say, before I never used the boxcar, but as soon as I got one, absolute game changer. Especially when you get so many boxes from like Scan, CCL, all your orders, you get so many boxes. Get a boxcar. Don't use like industrial scissors like I was using. Just get a boxcar and your life will be much easier. So we keep the sticker because you can put it on the other side again if there's a warranty problem. I put that one upside down. No one's going to notice. No one's going to care. Yeah, keep a hold of it for that reason. This is much easier to do when it's lying down flat, but I'm trying to give you some visuals. If anyone's wondering where the screws are coming from, hold them in your mouth. Well, not in your mouth, but like just have the screw thread in your lips. Then with one hand you could easily just put it on top of your screwdriver. One of those disgusting tips that you probably shouldn't ever do if you're working in a store, but no one needs to know. So power supply seems to work, not blow up right away anyway, when the 5 volts is engaged. Alright, so we have a mess of ribbon cables here. This is another thing I like about the Cylons. See, the Cylons are like, aside from being a low quality unit, they have all the features that you would like in a budget power supply. Obviously they are just exceptionally cheap, but they come with a C13 cable, which is really important. Black cables, really nice, not the ketchup and mustard. But more importantly, this ribbon type of design, rather than just like round fat cables. This is really nice, feels quality. Aside from the 500 watt, I think the 500 watt only comes with one 6+2 pin for the GPU. This has 2 PCIe 8 pins, 6+2s. But yeah, I think only the 500 watt comes with it. I think anything higher doesn't. Like you get 700 watt, which is, I think it's 636 watts in the 12 volt for the Cylons, and that's like reasonable. So it's just, if they were high quality, they didn't have as many issues. I do have issues with a lot of whine from these and just DOAs, but whine is probably the biggest issue I get. So that's my worry there. Alright, so obviously CPU 8 pin 4+4, we need that. Put that down there. So split everything we don't need to one side. What do we have here? We have the GPU. We don't need this. So this is going to get hidden. Should we go into the junk pile? I'm debating actually, should I hide that or should I just keep it like on top or something, just ready for them to use? So we got our SATA and a Molex. We need a SATA at the end of the chain if we can. For that. For the Molex, God knows. What does this one have? 2 MOLX. We don't have a SATA at the end of any of the chains. That's not good. It means we're gonna have to like properly flatten the cable to get it in there. It's not ideal. Far from it even. This can be done though. I think we could use this one cable. So we don't need this one, this could go in the junk pile. And obviously motherboard 24 pin, we could use this. So we get the cables we need, cables we don't need. Get yourself some cable ties. So what I do, just to keep things cleaner, the cables I don't need, I just wrap them up. That's probably a little bit overkill. So something like that, and then I just stuff it towards the back. These cable ties from the case might be a little bit too thin. They'll be fine, just don't feel sturdy. Rubber nippers, there we go. Keep these on hand actually. See it? Useless cable. Literally just get stuff there towards the back. Completely not in the way anymore. This one, much the same story. That's a quite a long distance between each of these actually. I don't like that. But I think I'm just going to go away with this anyway. This is one of my cable ties. And there we go. Useless cables completely out of the way. Now only stuff that's going to be routed is here. CPU you can route right away, the rest doesn't matter too much. So how did I want to do this again? I did MOLX here, and then we got this extra length of cable, so... let's wrap this up. Yeah, that seems about right. Just get us a bit of a bunch. This isn't going to come out as nice as I would like it to, but we still clean up some cables. Cable management is like one of the #1 things, and when you really learn the ways to do it, things get a lot better. So that's going to get stuff down there. We do have this bit of a cable crossover, which is not nice, but it'll do. Then we have to wiggle this in without destroying the connector, because it's not issues discussed before. And connect that. Is this upside down? It's fucking upside down, okay. Do I have a problem with this cable management right here? It's not going to look the best, but I don't want to fret too much about a couple of cables. And just cable tie that to that. Keep in mind, some of these cable ties we will have to undo. For example, if we want to use this anchor point to cable tie some of the front panel connectors, for example, then we'll have to change that around. And we've got our CPU pin, which goes up here, and a 4 pin, which probably goes through here. And we'll set a proper loom when we get to that. We'll just throw it through there now. So let's install the motherboard. Alright, where are we on standoffs? We do not have that much room in this case. Alright, we have all the ones we want, really. Yeah. We'll go with those 6. You know what we're forgetting? IO shield. Does that not actually line up with that? Does it? No. That hole's in such a weird place. You'd think a standoff would go there, but it doesn't. IO shield. I've forgotten this more than once. Oh, and usually this fan will have a cable that comes out here that goes through the back. That will get stuck in your motherboard every time you try. You'll never get lucky and find a case where you don't have to fiddle around with that for a while. In this budget range, anyway. Oh Christ, what the hell's happening here? I just realised this ain't pretty. Just to make it a bit easier. I would describe PC building as taking a lot of shortcuts and then backtracking because the shortcut screwed you over. And occasionally getting lucky. Like just very, very slightly, just enough to make you think that I'll do that again next time and see if it works. It never will. Right. Fan cable. Make sure I didn't stick any metal tabs in the USB port. I've had a PC not boot because of that before. These are metric. I don't recall ever... I know you can get these in Imperial, but I don't recall ever seeing them. Sometimes you have to, like, actually put some force in your motherboard to try and force it into the... Force the holes to line up with the standoffs below. I like to do them diagonally apart, just a couple right away. I don't really need this now. You'll find in a lot of ultra cheap cases, sometimes they just don't line up. The motherboard standoffs and the screws. The holes in the motherboard. They'll be like slightly off and you'll have to get a slight angle. Or just like forgo one screw here because it's just way off. I probably should have got something else for this, maybe a M.2 drive, even though it's just SATA, just to go with the flow, but you know what? It's in the backspace, you can't see the SSD anyway. I do like cases where you can mount SSDs here, because something like a Barracuda Q1, let me show you one of those actually. Like, these actually look quite good for 2.5-inch drives, visually, they're quite nice. So having one of these mounted here to block all your cable management if it's a bad management case, really handy. Can I actually not get this in with that RAM? I can. I'm kind of leaning over the cam here, so if it seems like I can't see what I'm doing, I really can't. Fair, that does look... we didn't really hide it, but it does actually look okay. That looks abysmal if you're looking at the right angle, but you can't see, so let's not complain. So, what do we want to do now? We need to cable manage... CPU connectors are going to be a bitch to get in. There is room for two 120mm fans up here, actually. I'm not going to include them, but... I think I will include this with my upgrade warranty. I give different warranties, basically new parts 1 year, used parts 3 months. And I do various things. It's basically fully... The parts are warranted, but my actual warranty for labour is 1 year. So if it has any problems, I'll diagnose and fix them for 1 year, free. And I've actually had PCs out of warranty come back. Well, one PC anyway. A lot of my PCs, none of them come back really. But I've had one come back and yeah, I just fixed it for the guy anyway because, you know, I'd rather he actually has a working PC. So yeah, I'll give this 1 year upgrade warranty, which means if they bring it to me and they just want an upgrade, there's no problems, then I will do it. This fan looks filthy, but I've really been on this with like some isopropyl alcohol in the brush. It feels like the fan's just permanently cloudy, with some spots that aren't. Anyway, got sidetracked there. CPU connector has to go into the socket for it, and let's just feel where the little tab is. Tab's got to be on this bottom side. It is. So I'll line up the tab here. See, I like Cylons in all ways except just the amount of problems I've had with them. If they didn't have problems, they would be good. Like even quality wise, they do have they basically don't list anything they have. Like even basic things like OTP, they do have, but you won't find it anywhere online. So that's in firmly. This is not a very fun one because it has to go like this, and then you get to see all these ugly cables as they start to fray apart. So that USB 3 is in a very awkward position because the hole for it is basically right here. What I would do is I would pull every front panel audio cable up from here. I plug them in here, 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 here. So I just have like one long bar going across the bottom with this cable here on the leftmost cable, which would be front panel audio. That'll be the one on top, so that's the only one you see. Basically comes out of this hole and comes straight across, hides all the connectors. But with the USB 3 there, USB 3 connectors are an absolute bitch. They're this big, fuck off, massive long cable. It's really inflexible. So basically I'm going to have that plugged in, but that's going to be like, I can't have that really going down in the hole. It does not bend. So USB 3 connectors are Satan, basically. So I don't really know. I might have to come up from this hole to go in there. It might be the only way to fit that one around. In fact, I could probably do everything from this hole. There's only these two holes. It's this one here. If you build PCs, you will hate USB 3 connectors for that reason. Some better boards, higher end boards, they will have 90-degree connectors already on the board. Sometimes it'll usually be here if they have a 90-degree connector. Sometimes it's just out right here and you have to bring it in with the motherboard cable. It looks atrocious every time, but for £2 on AliExpress, if anyone wants me to link them, I can. It's like £2 1p right now. You can get 90-degree adapters. So yeah, I don't have any, but it's vaguely frustrating. So yeah, let's cable manage the rest of these cables then. We are actually done when we've cable managed this, really. Then we just need to install Windows, but it's all software at that point. So this one does not need any additional work. Just pull that as tight as it'll go flexibly. Need to get a cable tie. For these ones, like right on the edge here, I like to bend a little bit into the end of the cable tie. A little bit of curvy bendy there. It helps you get a hold of it. We could do this one up here, but it's not going to make any difference in this case. If it's a little bit more flexible, then I would. Just to make it, you know, sit right when it's going through. But it's one of the least visible parts of cables that actually go around the front, so. And this will just sit here from the power supply. Don't worry about that one at all. This is okay. Alright, so I want to do everything through this hole. Is that a smart move? I do not know. We don't give ourselves much room to like push this down and then come in from under here, get to the power supply, so we need to be a bit more concerned. Oh, front panel connectors, obviously they have to go through this one. One's going to be something like that. I want all these to go under the motherboard connector, preferably. This motherboard's going to be sitting here. We could have this as like one big loom, but this case does not have too much room. This is a reasonable space, 1.5 centimeters maybe, and then you've got the extra 0.5 centimeter plus when you stick the cover on, but I just don't think combining this into a loom this early, because then I have to bring this over here, tie that there. We have just a temporary center loom here, and then it already splits up after a few inches. That doesn't really sit right with me. But these all fit if it is pushed out of the way onto this one right side. That'll all still be fine. So yeah, I'm cool with that. As long as it's down there. So it does mean we do have a big loom. Let's double check those are pulled as tight as they can be. Well, we're going to have 2 medium-sized looms. This is really chunky for a front panel connector. It's because it's I'll show you 2 USB 3s, which share the one port. It's nice looking I/O on top. I like those silvery buttons. Also the non-combined jack. They need to just like, it's like getting rid of the headphone jack. You just don't do that. You do something sensible instead. That fits quite snugly in there. I'm happy with that. That'll do. I do want to tie this up over here. I'll tie it to that one. Gonna put a bit of a curve in this one again. Check, that's all the cables I want. Benefit of having a beer belly, you can push PCs across the desk. Right, so these are now going to be completely separate. These are just going to be stuffed down in there, above the hard drive. So I can actually cable manage this. double check. Just make sure it looks fine when it's pulled tight like that. It does. That does look quite neat. Sadly, these are going to get stuff done there. And so front panel audio, USB 3, standard USB. That's all going to go through there. Front panel is going to go this way. Alright, so just thread them through. And then we'll tighten them later when we've actually got them installed. Oh, feck. Oh no, it does fit. Thank God. There's definitely cases where the PSU shroud is too close and you can't fit the connector through. And he's going to end up like this. There's it. There we are. These are always in the same place, but they do change some of the board slips. There we go. That didn't come out well. I don't know why. Yeah, that's usually how I like to do it. Just take a picture and then it's not going to focus on my phone, but so you got power LED on the left, you got power switch there, you got hard drive LED, reset switch, which I think we do have in this case actually. No idea what the hell CI is. You got the speaker and then you got additional power LED. But you have the 3-pin type, which I have seen. The clear CMOS is that one there, right above it. Probably should actually open that. It's the same every time, but you just feel like you need to keep checking, really. Alright, we've got the power switch, power LED, hard drive LED on the bottom. Pay attention to where the pluses and minuses are. Reset is next to that. For the switches, the power and the reset, all they're doing is they're basically just bridging the 2 pins, so they don't have to be positive or negative. But the LEDs, because they're diodes, they need the positive and negatives to be correct. So I might say like positive for reset switch or power switch, but unless it has its own LED in the switch and it doesn't just use the power LED, which I don't think I've ever seen. I've heard of, but I haven't seen. It just won't matter. You see, whatever that one is, it's kind of nuts. Positive on the left? That didn't make much sense. Yeah, positive left. You can get like small extension blocks of this. If you're a system integrator, they'll be using them. Otherwise, it doesn't make much sense to use them. And power switch. Because of the angle, I can't really see where I'm plugging this into. It's just nature streaming this stuff though. Alright, and I'm going to feed that one through. So I pull from the other side and accidentally yank into them out, I'm going to be wondering why it's not turning on. When the power switch is removed or something. That hides itself well enough. Now this fucking bastard of a cable. The notch is on the upside as well. Oof. Heck. I'll have to wrestle with this one for a second. Oh, this is so inflexible. I hate this. Everyone hates these, but... Alright, that's that plugged in, and looks terrible as ever. How am I going to hide that? There just isn't a way to make it not stick out too far. I mean, obviously that's... I can compress that a little bit, but... There outright is not a way to solve that. Now we've got here, front panel audio and USB look almost the same. They're missing different pins though. USB is missing one in the corner, front panel is missing one, like one in from the side. Front panel USB, USB. Let's use this as at least some kind of shield to hide the USB cable. And front panel audio, where's the missing pin? That's the one. One thing I never really do test is the front panel audio. I always like to remember I probably should be testing that, forget by the next day. Alright, so these two are going to be tight. I'm going to pull it from the other side, it'll work, but this bastard, I don't know. I can switch these two around, maybe? Oh, that really feels like it's ripping the socket off the board. I think we're gonna have to live with it. Honestly, I really do. I think we're gonna have to live with it. Right. I just realized, did this actually not pull that tight? Oh, it's the double USB connector, USB 3. It's the worst design connector, and I will complain about it until I die. Alright, that looks like it. I'd hope the motherboard isn't a dud. I was just not putting it away before, but this just holds all the cables in place. When it's on and I get another look at it, that's when I'll decide. Alright, okay, it's gonna be a weird one. Oh, there we go. The Cylon high-pitched whine. That RAM illuminates even when it's not turned on. I didn't know that. Alright, see what we get. Oh. There we go. Device has been reset, no shit. I'm not sure how to encourage the camera to show better. Let's have quick play in the settings. That's not what I thought it would be. Why isn't any of this in auto? Gain. Exposure, there we go. Now you're gonna be stuck with the strobing. But now you can see the... Okay, this is a little bit brighter than the camera showing. But still. I think this actually looks okay, especially the Wraith Prism. That really adds to it. That's going to really be a big sell factor. Oh, incidentally, if you're wondering about the video noise removal in RTX Broadcast, this is with it off. And this is on. Off. On. Look towards the left of the PC in this sort of area here. You notice it really does help. I like the RTX stuff. be a decent bit of fun. PC starts up. Let's get our keyboard and mouse. I'm thinking of just peeling off the glass now. Love the fuck. Gotta be careful of that, there's a lot of static on those. That really does look quite good. Getting a pick like this is going to be a nightmare. The reason I'm putting this on is because I want to stand it up. And I just want to show off the finished result. I'll be hitting this up with some glass cleaner when I take the product photos. You can follow Nomad Tech on Facebook. Currently that's where the URL leads, nomad-tech.co.uk. There'll be a store coming soon. I think I'll keep a hold of this because I've been using the socket, but this might just be easier than whipping out my toolkit every time. Yeah, I'll keep that. It's a nice small PC as well. Let's take a quick look at some software stuff. Need to buy more of these keyboards. They really go along well with these cheap PCs, despite how cheap they are. Unbelievably cheap. Alright, So what have we got? Advanced recording settings, CPU's on auto. Yeah, because that's got the boost. What is boost on auto? XMP, what do we have? We have our full RAM, there we do. 3200 megahertz, 16, 18, 1838. It's not bad actually. Need to install Windows obviously. Let's install our Wi-Fi card, Windows install USB. Disable the logo, enable fastbit. Storage bit option control. Welcome, Car. How you doing? Normally, I would be like, I'd just stand the PC up, but just so you can see it, I've got that. Alright, let's see what we get. This RAM does work at the speed. I tried it on a Z270 board with a 6600K, I think. I just realized I didn't plug in the fucking drives. Oh, you fucking mongoloid, Chris. Oh man, that's a new one. That's complete new one. If anyone saw that coming, well done. Yeah, good card, thanks for asking. I've just proven I am of a lower IQ though. Let's not talk about that. Oh, there's two left. But Christ, that was a bad one. Oh, I hate myself. How can I possibly forget to plug in the drives? The build looks great, just, you know, doesn't have any storage, apparently. This is why you don't close up the PC. Because you've forgotten something every time. The reason we have tests is to make sure that this crap works. Oh, that slipped out. Now, this is a real problem because I haven't got a clue where another SATA cable is to power that other drive. I've got to hope one of them is somewhere nearby. I am in luck. I am very much in luck. Ah, it could be more, but... I can guarantee if I wasn't streaming, I wouldn't have forgotten that. Alright, SATA cables, two black ones. Alright, what do I need? Straight? Preferably straight. Right, that's where the SATA ports are? Do I really want them like this? I don't. Am I gonna have them like that? There's no way that's ever gonna look right, is it? No. Maybe. Oh, you can't really see that. Try another right angle straight. Some real room temperature IQ shit right there. That didn't happen. For the rest of our lives, please. It's not going to be ideal. But I've come this far. If this was just me installing an SSD on top of someone's PC, I would even really not even care too much and literally just plug that in there, maybe tighten that up, but... I cable tie that. I would need a laminator for a checklist to be viable. Hit it with the marker. So you ain't designing nothing aside from my own abuse, which you give me relentlessly day in, day out. I don't really know how I'm going to feed this one, actually. I could just feed it down and around there. Just so you know, these are L-shaped. Don't know if you can see that. It's not focused, I don't think. But it's straight and with an L shape. The little tabs, the short bit on the L shape, those are in the center. So long bit is obviously horizontal, but tabs on the left if it's on the right. Damn right abusive, woman. Damn right abusive. And that's atrocious. Switch those around a little bit. It don't look good, but that's mainly just because of that connector down there. Also, those for some reason fed themselves back through a little bit. I would like some sort of like cable cover, something that you could just put just along the bottom of a bar on top of the power supply shroud. Alright, so this automatically became quite a bit more ugly than we intended. These should be tucked in there, but that's not happening at this rate. All that in there is just Coliseum a mess, but the loom is quite nice. One thing I do like about old cases is the cable management room was intense. Oh, something's sticking up somewhere. Something is getting thoroughly ignored as I just force this down. That's another thing. You always usually have to force this down. Often it's just because, like, the way a cable tie is, you know, you cut it with the square bit on the end facing outwards, so that's poking out. Loads of reasons. Let's assume this is working now. Alright, that's in, that's in. We didn't do anything to break it, so this should work fine. Oh, that was lucky. Blindly plugged in USB port, didn't get upside down. Love the mini brownout. Running pretty quiet. There's the Windows install USB. If that doesn't recognize the drive, I don't know what will. Don't know why I threw my chair away. I'm not going to put product key on stream. We're doing Windows 10 Pro though. Both our drives show up fine. For some reason, that is our primary drive. We're going to delete that partition though. Got 240 gig, we've got 223, it's not too bad. So I have another PC, Ryzen 1600 non-AF, it's overclocked to 3.7 gigahertz. The all-core boost on the AF is 3.6, but on the normal it's 3.4. So, you know, 3.7 all-core is quite a bit better. It's got an AI on it, it doesn't get beyond 50 degrees, which wasn't even 3 Arctic Freezer. It uses the standard stick bracket, so I upgraded that to an AM4. And it works wonders, really. Quite happy with it. That's got an RX 584 gig in it. Would have liked a slightly better GPU, but you know, it's fair enough. It did have a GTX. I did have a GTX 980 that I want to put in another build, but did have another build actually. But I swapped that for the 580 because AMD driver issues. So I was saying earlier that one guy did bring his PC back, one of the few, and it literally was because he was tired of the AMD driver issues. Yeah, just non-stop issues where it just crash in mostly in games, but then it got to the point where it just started crashing in just web browsing and stuff. And yeah, it was literally just drivers, Adrenalin as well. Not sure which. I installed slightly older drivers with without Adrenalin. No, I didn't. I installed the drivers through the Windows Update, which are massively outdated, but at the same time, that's not a big issue. So I'm kind of glad about that. Glad I sorted him out, gave him a 980, which is, when you're talking 584 gig, you're literally talking like, the GTX 980 is very, very slightly better. So technically you got a slight upgrade. He has the NVIDIA features on his GPU, which are better than AMD's. He doesn't have to deal with the driver problems, and I've got a slightly more valuable GPU because for some reason 580s are worth quite a bit. Yeah, the 4 gig version, I mean, surprisingly they're worth quite a bit. The 8 gig we know for mining, but 4 gig, not so much. So yeah, I'm a little bit hit or miss on that one. I guess I ended up better off. I had to deal with a lot of issues though that were all just AMD drivers again. I haven't sold an AMD card ever since I sold him that one, and now I've got it back and I'm going to be selling again because it's just AMD drivers. So yeah, I'm not going to pre-install Adrenalin. It's literally just going to have the drivers that you get through the Windows Update, and they'll work fine in games. Sure, they'll have won't have the best optimization immediately when it comes to new games, but they'll work fine. Still a bit annoyed about that actually. I'm thinking of offering this PC with trying to upsell some graphics cards. I have a lot of low-end cards in, but not a lot of low-end CPUs. I have a GTX 960 4 gig, a 1050 Ti 4 gig, a 1066 gig, a 1063 gig, a bunch of cards like that. So it's yeah, I need to pair those with some other PCs. 6600K actually might go good with the 1066 gig. Come think of it. I have a couple of AM4 coolers. I don't really have much AM4 parts in general. It's not been ideal for quite a long time with just like if I wanted to buy new, I would go for the lower end Intel stuff, 10th gen, maybe 11th gen, now that's coming in. For used, honestly, like, why would I pay £130 used for a 3600? 125 for a 10400, which is much better. 10400F, that is. New factor motherboard prices are actually not too different because a new open box motherboard for a 10400F, you're looking like 55 to 65 depending on how good you want to go. DDR4 RAM, you know, same for either, but obviously it's Intel, you could actually save a bit on the RAM. 2666 megahertz limit on the 10400 on a non-overclock motherboard. So can you really complain about that? Nah. There just isn't much reason for me to go Ryzen, unless I can pick one up cheap. The 1600 I picked up for £70 including the cooler. And that's pretty competent for, you know, something that has the buzzwords of Ryzen 6 cores, 12 threads, overclocked, which it is, water cooling, which has an IO. That's like the buzzword machine, and it was cheap. Okay, so we reset after getting devices ready. That's not common. CPU cooler there just stopped. Is this being into the... No. Okay. So I'm assuming that was being back into the USB. I'll remove that now. I can't get a grip on this thing. There we go. UK, that's where we are. Yes, UK. Skip. Wutanlan, that's mine. Oops, typo. Does it count as a typo if you're not actually typing a word, you're typing random letters? Never really thought about that. Like, you might type the random letters wrong, but is that a typo? You didn't type any word wrong. Because it's not a word. The airflow through this is terrible. It's picking up a decent bit of noise. I think it's just the CPU cooler, but... Oh look, the rubber feet on this are attached just as well as the... Oops. I always, every time... Obviously I don't know someone else's login, so I'm not going to make one for them, but always offline account. They can associate a Microsoft account with it if they want. Administrator, straightforward, no password. It's rare, but sometimes it'll come up asking them if they want to input a password. And obviously just tell them leave it blank, press enter, it'll work. I think that's usually when accessing the Microsoft Store. I've had that one twice now, but no one else seems to have that problem. This doesn't make a difference. I tend to just do required because optional can mean like your PC might hang up a bit, just reporting a crash or something. I've seen that happen many years ago on weaker PCs. These PCs shouldn't have trouble with that, but I basically just decline everything because it's up to an individual whether they choose want to be tracked or whatever. Cortana can fuck right off though. I would actively advise ever touching Cortana to anyone who buys a PC from me. See, I think this PC will look quite good in the product shots. I've got 2 to do. I'm thinking of just scheduling things a bit better. There's going to be a Nomad Tech Instagram, as in I set one up, but I haven't actually done anything on it at all. Where is Instagram? I had it here somewhere. There it is. On Instagram, we are Nomad Tech UK. How does one upload something to Instagram? 0 posts. That's true. This plus button. New post. Disable studio lights. If anyone knows how Instagram works, please let me know. Nice, let's set up a post. Edit the image. Oh, do you know? Oh, that looks quite nice actually. That or that. This one really makes the colours pop. I like that one. The filter begins with C. Oh, why is everything caps lock? Also post to Facebook. Is this connected to my Facebook? It isn't. I don't want to connect to my Facebook. I want to connect to my Facebook page. Can I do that? I'll post to my page rather than my personal. There we go. Nomad Tech's first post. You've seen it now live on stream. New PC built today, 3400G. Alright, you don't really need drivers. I cannot believe I just clicked on that. I got scammed. Alright, so my usual starting setup here. Turn off Show Cortana button. Show task view is optional. I like to remove that. Search, I like to do search icon. And there we go, desktop's cleaned up. We need a couple of things, not just drivers, but... Google Chrome. I used to have a USB where I would just get frustrated constantly having to update software on it anyway, so it didn't seem as as much point to have the USB and then every build update at least one piece of software. So now I just download it as I go. It adds maybe like a minute or 2 per PC. In my current building scheme, that's not bad. We don't need to delete this from our history, but we can do. And obviously unpin Edge. Edge is really not too bad. Yeah, it's fine. But Chrome is just, people recognize it more. I skip all this, leave it all as default, except set the browser's default. And this is where they get a bit crafty. You try and switch, and then the try out button is the big blue one, switch anyways, the small text. So now people have Chrome. Pin that to the taskbar. I leave these. People might like, obviously Explorer is important. Store is up to the user, and the mail is up to the user. And they could get whatever basic apps they need. Some people, they just won't get Steam. I had a guy who bought a PC for me. No, he didn't buy a PC for me. I upgraded his PC and reinstalled Windows for him on a new drive. It was the easiest way to just give him a complete fresh start. I could have fixed his Windows, but it was some jank Windows Professional stuff from like before I was born. I don't know. It was whack. He had some weird shit going on with that PC. See, he only wanted to play Microsoft Flight Simulator. He even bought it on CD. Like, it was as the same price as buying it in the Microsoft Store, but he bought the 10-disc CD version. And literally, all you have to do is insert the first disc. It gives you the product key, you associate with your Microsoft account, and that's it. Like, you could just download it online anyway, like you bought it in the store. But the only difference is you're locked to having the CD. You have to have the CD in. So now he's paid 100 something for the deluxe edition or whatever, and now he's just fixed to permanently needing a CD drive when they've been basically phased out of modern PCs completely. So he kind of screwed himself there, I think. It would have been nice if he asked me about it first. I would have definitely advised him differently. There's just nothing you could do about it. Like, it's done, it's done. So yeah, that's something we have to deal with there. Desktop I like to change to one of my own. May or may not be this USB stick. I have been chopping and changing them around recently. As I said, I just stopped using the yeah, this is the one. It's not actually Mentext. Alright, yeah, the other drive's not initialized. So based on the color theme of the PC, I will set the desktop. I usually just do white if it's RGB. And yeah. So what we need to do, we need to activate Windows. Let's just double check, because Windows activation is sticking with the motherboard. No. Just in case, it was OpenBox, maybe someone just installed Windows and, you know, let us get away with it. But yeah, that's basically what we do. I would then benchmark this. I would usually plug in external SSD, the benchmark SSD, but that's not needed right now. I will just get a couple of basic things, Cinebench and FurMark. I will then run some benchmarks just to make sure it is as expected. But I tested the 3400G on a B350 and it worked perfectly fine there. I'm not going to end the stream here, but I'll leave you with one little story. So I bought the 3400G with an A320M for £130. Bit high, but you know, I was like, this will make a nice little PC. Trinity G case, I think I just got this at the time. Oh, I just realised how tiny this case is compared to my hand as well. I thought it would be fine, and it didn't work. Now, I didn't have any AM4 components at the time, so I didn't know whether it was a motherboard or the CPU, because I couldn't test either. And a story and a half later, just after all we went through, all we were talking about, maybe discussing getting new boards, whatever, we decided return would just be the easiest option. He'll get another A320M and test out, see if it's the board or not. It's probably the board. And, you know, it's entirely on him at that point. And if the CPU definitely works, he would sell it to me for £100 or whatever, or the full 130, including the motherboard as well. And, yeah, so that all seemed to be going fine. So after talking for a while, finally sorted out a return, went to return it, he did not give me his address. Talking to him, bang forward, and it just suddenly stops when he refunds me eventually. Yeah. Refunding was a process and a half as well. He tried to refund me and then basically it said he didn't. eBay kept saying we have a problem with this, with the seller trying to refund you, we will let them know and ask them to try again or something. And yeah, that was weeks of that. So I think that was the main cause of frustration there. At least a week anyway. And then the payment went through on his PayPal. So eBay closed the case saying that he'd already refunded me outside of eBay through PayPal. So the case was closed, nothing he could do about it at that point. He just basically gave me the full refund for that return. So that was accidental on his part, and obviously I fully understand that, so I still wanted to do a return. And he just stopped responding after we agreed on a return, fully after the payment went through. When I kept asking for his address, months and months went by. So after a few months, 3 months maybe, I decided, okay, I'm going to buy a motherboard to test this out, a B350. It was nice and cheap, £30 or something. And it was a nice, it was the MSI Pro Carbon, I think. Really nice B350 actually, good VRM killing, or reasonable heatsink on it anyway. And it just seemed like an overall solid board, decent features. So I got that, tried it, didn't work with the 3400G. The seller specifically said in the advert that it was ready for Ryzen 3000. And when I messaged him, turned out he just said that he didn't actually update the BIOS. So I had no idea if the old motherboard was the problem, the CPU was the problem, or this new motherboard was also a problem. So I had to buy a Ryzen 1600. So I've already bought a new motherboard and CPU at this point. So just to test out, see if either a motherboard or CPU works. And yeah, 1600 worked. I updated the B350 to the latest non-beta BIOS, and the 3400G didn't work. I was like, sure, okay, this is probably 3400G is broken. I put the 1600 in the motherboard, the old motherboard. The old motherboard didn't work. So I decided I would update to the latest beta BIOS in the B350. And that would not update, it would just keep saying it was not an official MSI BIOS, getting it from the MSI website. That's so bizarre. So then I googled the problem. I was like, the latest, it was like B350 MSI Pro Carbon Ryzen 3000 BIOS or something. I found some really jank thread somewhere, like Yahoo Answers type of style. Not literally on Yahoo Answers, but and then someone said you need to use the latest beta BIOS, and then we're just discussing old beta BIOSes. They link some weird German website where that just keeps track of the old BIOSes. I went there, I picked up the exact same BIOS from the MSI website on this German website, and that one worked. It recognized that one as the official MSI BIOS. And then yeah, 3400G then worked in that motherboard. I spent so fucking long on such amount of bizarre issues on that. So here we are today with the 1600 was a better pairing for the B350 because it was just, I could overclock it better. Obviously 320M, I didn't want to get another one of those. It's a good board for a 1600, so I used that. And now I finally got a B450 for the 3400G. 3400G freebie. So profit's going to be made on this PC. Most definitely. Anyway, thanks everyone for coming, listening to the stories. It's been fun. PC turned out well. At least when I remember to plug in the drives. So I'm going to do a little bit more cable management because that USB 3 connector is just way out of whack. And also that stuff up there, I don't know if I can do anything about that because again, it's two USB 3 connectors. That thing's so stiff I'm going to rip those out the sockets trying to remove any of the extra flex in there. So I'll see how it goes. But thanks everyone for coming.